So John Leguizamo has this one-man show, one-man play that was on Broadway, and I really wanted to see but didn't get to. My brother saw it. He told me it was dope. And I'm just a big fan of John Leguizamo, always have been. He like his like comedic acting, and really like his one-man shows. He has 4, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen 3. The first one was Freak, which I loved. It was like my absolute favorite, which came out in like 1998. And I saw it sometime back then. But then I rewatched it a couple years ago. And it holds up. It was super cool and entertaining. Then he has another one called, the second one, called Sexaholics, or Sexaholic. And then followed by Ghetto Clown. And I saw one of those two. I don't remember which one it was. I want to say it was Sexaholic, but I'm starting to think it was Ghetto Clown. I'm not sure. But the latest one made me want to like go back and rewatch the first one, definitely, and the other two as well. And coughing just reminded me to apologize for not being able to record an episode, new episode, for the last release. But I was feeling like shit and sounded like shit if you guys heard from my intro. Not that I sound too much better now, or normally rather. But I'm sure you guys wouldn't want to hear an hour or so of me sounding the way I was sounding. Also, I thought it would be cool, and it's kind of like a little podcast hack, podcast cheat, if you will, to re-release old episodes in just introducing old episodes to a newer audience that may not go back and listen to like the entire back catalog, even though the back catalog of the Spun Today podcast is and always will be completely free for your listening pleasure. But I know most folks, if they stumble upon this podcast, aren't going to go back and listen to every single one. So it's kind of a cool way to reintroduce some content which is still relevant. I re-release the audiobooks that I make from my own short stories that I've written, and I like re-releasing those. I've done that I think 2 or 3 times already with different stories, because the first time that I actually recorded the audiobook versions of those short stories was like 3-4 years ago in some cases. So it's cool in that sense to release it. Plus it gives me a little break, I guess, from recording. Not that I want one, but sometimes it's needed, as you guys saw with me being sick, or if life circumstances just do not permit. But back to John Leguizamo. Besides his one-man shows, I like the movies that he's in, from comedic acting roles, like this movie from back in the day that I think was called Freak 2 for some reason. But I'm not positive on that. It was about it was like a corny, silly comedy. But he was just good in it, with him going to some like rich guy's house, and then the rich guy wanting to like hunt him or some shit like that. To more serious roles, like as of more recently, the cop that he played, the partner of Brian Callen in the Ice Cube and Kevin Hart cop movies. I forget what they're called. To other roles, like more like sappy roles, like he has a lot of fucking range, actually. Sappy roles, like I guess you have to, right? When you're like a theater actor as well. What's the movie I was thinking of? This movie when he was married to a black girl, and it's like a Christmas movie. It's like a black Christmas movie. That's pretty good too. And I don't know, I'm just a fan of John Leguizamo's, and this latest one-man show that was on Broadway is called Latin History for Morons, and it was captivating. It's entertaining, and he makes it funny. He makes it heartfelt with his relationship with his son, which is pretty much the entire plot of the story, is him telling a story about his son and helping his son out with something. He dropped some gems also about Latin history, which as a Latin Dominican American guy myself resonates, and it kind of makes you want to look back on certain things that he says that you're like, damn, is that true? Let me look that up. Or certain books that he referenced and like the research that he was doing to help his son out with a school project that he had. And it was really informative and just captivating, just entertaining and funny and dope to watch. I like plays, like you guys know, and I was bummed out that I didn't get to see this one. And then was that much more excited when I saw that it was on Netflix. And a play on Netflix, I thought wouldn't work. Like, it kind of, seeing a recording of a play, I feel like takes away from it. And I'm sure it does. It did. I'm sure in person it was probably better. But I always thought that concept odd, and which is why I haven't seen this play that I do want to watch. And now I'll probably definitely will watch it because I saw that the medium kind of works on Netflix on a recording. Is a play with Nick Kroll and John Mulaney. They play like two old guys or something like that. I want to check that out. But anyway, I didn't think it would work, and it did. I was excited when I saw that it was on Netflix, and hopefully Netflix actually gets his back catalog of the other one-man shows that Leguizamo has. Maybe they do already. Gotta check that shit out. Anyway, here's a cool little excerpt that I want to play for you guys from this show. Like I said, it's about it's a lot of like father and son stuff, which you guys know gets me every time and always has. And I think more so now, maybe it resonates more now that I am a father and I see it from the other angle, from the other way, because before it, and still does, like, get to me in terms of me being a son side of things. But now I get to kind of sort of see things, not kind of sort of, I get to see things from both sides, being a son and a father. And it's pretty dope. It's pretty interesting. And I don't know, this like small little scene just resonated with me.
And bam, I had my comeback. I was the father I wanted my son to have. And then my wife just elbows the shit out of me. John, shh, would you be quiet? Buddy's about to talk. And then at that exact moment, I hear them call my son's name out loud. And this was the moment, man. This is the moment I've been dreading my whole life. Because I couldn't go up there with him anymore. I couldn't help him. I couldn't fix it for him. I couldn't save him. I just had to let go. John, shh, would you be quiet? Not everything's about you, John. Okay. And then I see my son approaching the podium, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that was my boy. I mean, who was this kid? Who was this amazing young man walking towards the podium?
And I'm not going to play the rest because it's kind of towards the end and it might ruin it. But what he does next is pretty much like walks up to the podium as his son and acts out his son's part of that scene. But just that little snippet, especially the part where he says that he was the father or became the father that he wanted his son to have, was like just such a visceral point, such a succinct point. When you hear something and you just get it and like understand it like wholeheartedly from every and any way that you can understand something and get something, like that you get it. It's like hearing something that you've always felt said in a way that you've never said it and you've never been able to articulate, or that you've never even heard before. Like, that's how that was to me. So, needless to say, I recommend you guys checking that out. Again, it's John Leguizamo's Latin History for Morons, and it's available on Netflix.